Thank you for coming such a late notice, the woman said as soon as she answered the door. No problem, miss. It's my job. What can I do for you? I naturally replied with a smile. Well, my sink's been acting up lately. I tried fixing it myself, but it's no good. Please, come in. I'll show you the way. She stepped aside, making a gesture to invite me in. I nodded with a smile, ready to provide service as usual. She led me to the living room. My son is asleep in his room. Can you please try and keep it quiet? Yes, of course. I'll do my best. I couldn't help but notice that she was missing 2 fingers on one hand. Not wanting to be rude, I made no mention of it. That would be much appreciated. Would you like a drink? Cold soda or maybe just water, she offered. Oh, water is fine, thank you. I'll be right back then. Go and take a seat. She slowly made her way into the kitchen, but without glancing towards the hallway. I couldn't help but notice how pale and weakly thin she looked. The poor woman wouldn't have the slightest chance if a robber or a murderer happened to sneak into her house. I wouldn't be surprised either. It was truly a nice house. I turned my head to the hallway and took a deep breath. Then I noticed it. A faint odor. Whatever it was, it didn't smell so inviting. I could tell through an effort I was giving to cover the stench with air freshener. I would know. I've done it before. I was making a move to get out when she walked back in with a glass of water. Here you are. She placed it gently on the glass table and, while doing so, revealed a small ringed bruise on her forearm. Miss, is your arm okay? I thought I saw a bit. I'm fine, she answered hurriedly, retrieving her arm to her chest. Would you like to see the sink now? She asked, insisted rather. I got up and followed her after sipping on the glass of water. We passed by the hallway, and I heard muffled shuffling in what seemed to be the first room to the left. I saw 2 shadows on the front of the door. Mommy, can I have it? The small voice said softly behind the doors. The woman stopped in her tracks and turned with a bewildered look that looked quietly masked by a smile. Honey, go back to bed, she said with a cold tone that didn't match her smile on her face. Mommy, can I have it? I'll be good this time. Please. Her son, I assumed, pleaded. Ma'am, I think your child needs something, I said hesitant. He'll get it in a bit, she said to me, then to her son. Sweetie, just be patient. I'll get it to you later, I promise. Immediately, she walked away and I followed, a little uncomfortable now. They were scratching behind the doors. Was that your son? I asked with a caution when she arrived in the kitchen. I think it got clogged when I dumped some leftovers there. I wasn't thinking clearly, and instead of putting them in the dispenser, I tossed the food down the drain. It was just some cut up meat, so I figured it wouldn't be an issue. I guess I was wrong, she explained, completely ignoring my question. I decided not to push it. Well, let me take a look. She moved aside and I began taking out some tools. She stayed in the kitchen, leaning by the fridge, watching me. After a while, she walked to one of the drawers and opened it, pulling out an item. I couldn't tell what it was as soon as it disappeared under the sink. After a few minutes of silence, she asked, You like helping people, right? Isn't that why you decided to go for this job? It was actually a lack of ambition and non-caring parents, but seeing as I didn't want to be rude, I merely nodded and even tried to play it off as the good guy. Yeah, I like helping folks. Nothing better than knowing you've made someone's life easier, right? Right. Yes. Service. More silence followed, which lasted longer this time. I popped my head out for a bit and reached for a winch in my toolbox. She noticed the ring on my finger. I see that you're married. Any kids? She asked, hands behind her back. 2. Yeah. My wife just gave birth to our youngest 2 weeks ago, I answered with a genuine smile. That's lovely. Congratulations. She paused, opening her mouth as if to say something, only to go back into silence. With the look on her face, it seemed as though she was contemplating something in her head quite seriously, struggling to find the right words. And then I saw on her face something I probably already did at the moment of our meeting, but ignored it. Exhaustion. Look, you seem like a nice man, so... We both snapped our heads in the direction of the hallway. I was about to speak when another thud stopped me, louder this time. The woman looked at me with hesitation. After one lingering look at my ring, she stepped forward. You better go, the woman said coldly, trying to ignore the sounds that now were much shorter pauses in between. But I'm not finished. Leave. Right now. I could see the unsettling look on her face, so I obeyed and packed up my things right away. When we passed by the hallway, the door to the boys' room began to rattle wildly. Mommy, please, let me out. Can I have it now? I want it, Mommy. Goodness, You have your child locked in there? I said with such shock. She was pushing me towards the door, now with the hand that was missing with 2 fingers. I turned around sharply, and she pulled out a knife she'd been hiding behind her back. My eyes widened, met with the frenzied ones. If you take another step towards me, I won't hesitate to hurt you. I've done this before. Done it plenty of times. Oh yes, I've killed a lot of men. But I was just trying to do my job, you see. Just doing my job. Isn't it a mother's job to protect her child? Huh? I stood there, my feet frozen and glued to the floor, not knowing how to respond. Isn't it? She yelled suddenly, causing me to jump. The door suddenly rattled and returned to the loud, chattering noises. The boy was repeatedly throwing his body against it. Listen, let's just be calm and talk about this. Put the knife down and we'll know! This has to end. No more of this. I sacrificed enough. I'm tired. She solemnly turned towards the hallway. Right at that moment, I could have easily disarmed her and turned the situation around. Things might have ended differently, but something in me was screaming to just run and call the police. I'm sorry, sweetie. I've done my best, but I can't keep doing this. It isn't right. It isn't right. She turned her back towards me, knife lowered, her eyes pleading. Go home to your family. I bolted through the door without even thinking about it. I didn't bother to close it either. With one last glance back, I saw her opening the door to the hallway, knife raised high. I'm fucking hungry, you bitch! I refused to believe it was that boy that said it. I couldn't have been. Yet, it was. Screams from both child and parent were heard. I threw myself into the work vehicle and drove a couple of blocks before realizing I had to call the police. Oh my goodness, did you hear on the news? About what? A plumber called the police after fleeing this house that he was working on, which was near the area, by the way. How exciting. Let me finish, jeez. So the police arrive there, and the first thing they see is the woman's mutilated body on the living room floor. She was all chewed up. Her face was barely recognizable, and her stomach was ripped open with the innards gone. They investigated the house and found a room with rotting corpses that were the same condition as the woman's body. A lot of them were workers like plumbers, electricians, and whatnot. There was a broken chain leash right before the pile of bodies. Oh, Jesus, we're eating. This is why we should never get a dog. Oh no, it wasn't a dog. They explained the woman's body, since it was the freshest, just died a little before they had arrived apparently. She had bite marks on her limbs, human bite marks. They were also pretty small, too small to be adults. You're not saying... No, that's messed up. They found out she had a son, a little boy. He's missing.